This book is Katy in London. London seemed very big to Katy. Big trains, big buildings and big crowds. She held on to Grandma with one hand and her little brother Jack with the other. They all got onto a big red bus and set off to see the sights. When they got off at Trafalgar Square, Grandma was tired. "I'll just have a little rest," she yawned. "Oh. You two stay by that lion, then I'll know where you are." Katy climbed onto the big bronze lion and pulled Jack up after her. As the sun came out, the lion seemed to turn from grey to gold. "Do you mind?" said a very deep voice. It was the lion. "Who said you could clamber all over me?" "We're very sorry," said Katy. "Grandma said to stay with you." "Then I suppose you must," sighed the lion. "Oh, now what shall we do?" "We wanted to see the sights, but Grandma fell asleep," said Katy. "Could you take us?" "Oh yes, please do," said Jack. The lion shook his mane. "Hold on tight," he roared, "Roar!" bounding out of Trafalgar Square. How people stared, but the lion didn't mind. "This is much better than lying on that stone all day," he said. "You have no idea how cold my tummy gets. Now, where shall we go?" "You choose," laughed Katy and Jack. The lion took them to St. Paul's Cathedral. They gazed up at the enormous dome. "It makes me feel very small," said Jack. "It's so tall it makes me feel dizzy," laughed the lion. "Ho, ho, ho, ho. Come on, let's go. There is so much I want to show you." Next, the lion took Katy and Jack to an old castle. "The Tower of London," he said, "haunted by the ghosts of kings and queens." Katy shivered. "Don't worry, they only come out after midnight," said the lion. "But you can see their crowns and jewels." The crown jewels were in a small special room. It was quite a tight squeeze for the lion. The jewels sparkled like stars in a night sky, but in all sorts of colours: green emeralds, red rubies and blue sapphires. Afterwards, the lion pretended he was a ghost and chased Katy and Jack. "Excuse me," called a man with an old-fashioned costume. "You're scaring my ravens." "Who's he?" whispered Katy. "He's a yeoman warder," said the lion. "He believes that the towers will fall down if the ravens leave. Time to go." The lion decided to take them across the River Thames. They trotted onto Tower Bridge. Suddenly an alarm sounded and the lights flashed. A boat was coming and the bridge was being raised to let it through. "Stop!" yelled Katy. But the lion didn't stop. He jumped. But instead of landing on the other side, they landed on the boat. They chugged along the river, passing great ships and going under dark bridges. "Look, that's the Globe Theatre," said the lion. "Shakespeare wrote some fine plays that are performed there to this day, although very few of them have lions in them." "What's that big wheel over there?" asked Jack. "It must be the London Eye," said Katy. "Why don't we go on it?" "You don't expect me to go on that thing, do you?" said the lion, as they all jumped off the boat onto the south bank. Before the lion could say another word, Katy bustled him on board the London Eye. Slowly the wheel turned and they rose high above London. The poor lion turned rather pale and began to shake, but soon even he couldn't help enjoying the view. He pointed to Big Ben. "Goodness, it's nearly 11 o'clock. We must hurry." As they came down, Big Ben chimed 11 times. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Katy and Jack jumped onto the lion and they raced across the bridge past the huge clock and the Houses of Parliament. They hopped in and out of queues of traffic, past taxis and red double-decker buses, past parks and grand buildings. They could hear music and drums. Bum, 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 bum. "It's a changing of the guard," said the lion. "Follow me. Left, right, left, right." The lion marched off behind the guardsman, in time to the music. Katy and Jack followed all the way to the gates of Buckingham Palace. "Sorry," said a policeman, "only royal guards are allowed through here." So Katy and Jack jumped back up and the lion walked on past the palace. They hoped to see a real prince or princess. Instead, they noticed a lot of flags and crests with lions on them. The lion smiled. "I'm very well known by the royal family." "Why is that?" asked Katy. "Because the lion is called the king of all beasts," he said proudly. And as they galloped away, perhaps they did catch a glimpse of someone waving from a palace window. By now, the lion's paws were beginning to ache, so they all went to sit in a leafy park. The lion dangled his paws in a cool lake. Jack bought ice creams with his pocket money. "Delicious," said the lion. "I love Tutti Frutti." "How are your paws?" asked Katy. "Rather sore," admitted the lion. "I'm not used to all this walking. Perhaps we could catch a bus back to Trafalgar Square." A policeman told them to catch a number 9 bus from Harrods, a big department store. "I wish I didn't have to go back," said the lion sadly. "Don't you like Trafalgar Square?" asked Katy. "Of course," said the lion, "but I do get such a very cold tummy lying on that stone." Jack whispered in Katy's ear and they both smiled. They went into Harrods and came out a few minutes later with a small parcel. Then they jumped on a bus and travelled back to Trafalgar Square. "This is for you," said Jack, holding him the parcel from Harrods. "We bought it with the last of our pocket money." The lion unwrapped it and laughed. "Ho, ho, ho, ho! It's a woolly blanket." "It's to keep your tummy warm," said Katy. "How kind you are," sighed the lion. "Thanks for showing us London," said Jack. "Next time I'll show you even more," said the lion. Then Katy saw Grandma was waking up. The lion hopped onto his stone and kept very still. And as the sun went in, he turned from gold to grey. "Hello, you two," said Grandma. "Shall we go off to see the sights now?" "Oh," said Katy, "I'm much too tired." "I need a rest," said Jack. And they both flopped down on a bench and fell asleep. The end.